Hello everyone, welcome to Straight Talks F1. Finally, Lando Norris is a Grand Prix winner. It did not feel like his weekend, but eventually, when it mattered, he capitalized on his opportunity and beat Max Verstappen fair and square on merit. For everyone who's watched Lando Norris over the years, this was the moment to cherish, to dance, absolutely enjoy every single moment of it. Every single lap, every single corner he was taking, turn by turn, the anticipation was increasing that finally Norris was going to get his moment in the sun. And that too, like 24 hours ago, he got spun around in the sprint race, and 24 hours later, he's taking the checkered flag in P1. In recent times, there hasn't been a driver as desperate for his first race win as Norris, and he's been in that position previously. He could have easily won in Russia in 21. That 2021 Russian GP in Sochi would always stay as a regret for him, but yeah, not after this race in Miami. The reason I bring up Russia 21 is that was his weekend. He was dominating it. He took pole by over half a second. When Hamilton was Verstappen, all the top guys were failing. Norris was the one there to capitalize on it. And he led the race comfortably in a battle with Sainz, took the lead again. Till the end of the race, when the rain came down, Norris looked set to take the win. So it hurt him more that he was in the driver's seat and he let the win slip away. So 2 years, 7 months, and 9 days later, when it mattered, when he had to pit at the right time under safety car, Norris did not make the same mistake. And that's the reason I feel so happy that finally Lando Norris is a Grand Prix winner. Not just a race winner. Oscar Piastri last year won a sprint race in Qatar. They said even Piastri has a race win ahead of Norris. So it's great to see that Norris directly has won the Grand Prix. He could have had the sprint race last year in Kota, in Interlagos as well. But yeah, this was a win on sheer merit. The McLaren upgrades coming in, it worked, and it worked fantastically for Norris. Finally, he's got the monkey off his back. All the trolls and the memes around Norris not winning a race, even it has been a running gag on my podcast that Norris has the most number of podiums without a race win. But it only lasted for 2 races in Australia and China. So absolutely have at it, Lando Norris. Now the script for this Norris win couldn't have been better. I said earlier he was spun around in the sprint race just 24 hours before that. In qualifying he wasn't in the top 4. The sprint race DNF. It did not look like Norris and McLaren were looking to make a huge statement. China looked like their weekend. In China, McLaren absolutely, they underplayed, downplayed the expectations and over-delivered with that P2 finish. And coming to Miami, there was some sort of chat that the upgrades may work, but nobody thought it would give Norris his maiden race win. But those upgrades really worked. Oscar Piastri in the Grand Prix, he was running in P2 and not trying to defend, rather being aggressive until he got the damage in the battle against Sainz. Piastri looked like a genuine podium contender. So that was the first sign McLaren had some genuine pace, and obviously then the luck came to Norris because he was languishing in 5th or 6th. And when the safety car happened, Kevin Magnussen crashed with Logan Sargent. That got the luck back towards Norris. He got that free pit stop. Verstappen was leading, he had pitted under the virtual safety car. So he had older tyres and Norris was going to get fresher tyres and also retain the race lead. That was the aspect I was keenly looking at, whether Norris can retain the race lead. Because if he was going to battle Verstappen for the race win, he needed to have track position. It is not easy to go up against Verstappen, chasing after him and take the win. So I was really happy when Norris got the race lead. He emerged in P1 after pitting under the safety car. And still, the scare wasn't gone. Many would have thought after the safety car ends, Verstappen would certainly take the lead again. And even if he doesn't take the lead immediately, he would come back and he would overtake Norris. But it just did not happen. Norris kept extending his advantage. Lap after lap after lap, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5, eventually winning by 7 seconds. And that was the moment I went like, damn, McLaren have got some pace. I said this in the Bahrain GP review itself. That McLaren car has got some good potential. The in-season development is strong. When the upgrades come, they are going to make some step forward. And voila, they have done it in Miami. Oscar Piastri initially fighting in P2, P3, it gave indications that Norris may also have some pace, and eventually got the opportunity to show that pace. And now again, some people would go and say, well, the safety car really gave the race to Norris. He was lucky and all, etc. Fair enough. Not the first time safety cars have decided race winners or championship winners. That's how the cookie crumbles. At times, safety cars happen and they change the course of a Grand Prix. It happens in sport all the time. A particular event happens, a stoppage happens, and the course of the game changes. And in F1 especially, drivers need some luck. You may be the best driver in the world, you may have the best car, but any athlete, any driver would require some luck to go his way to win the race or to win the championship. You just got to be in the right place at the right time. And Norris has been in the right place at the right time previously, just the luck hasn't gone his way. Or perhaps he has made some crucial mistake at a moment that could have changed his fortune for that particular event. In Qatar, had he got pole in sprint qualifying, he could have got the race win in that sprint race. Again, Russia 2021, had he pitted for intermediates, that could have been his first race win. This time when the safety car happened, it was that moment again. The fog in the road, and he chose the right road to go upon, pitted at the right time, got that advantage, and never looked back. Avoided repeating the same mistake he's done previously. And obviously the upgrades by McLaren helping him big time, because they must have unlocked some sort of pace relative to what Red Bull have currently. So if they can continue this trajectory, the rest of the season seems quite bright for McLaren. Hope it's not a false dawn like 2021. This was a similar period happening during that second half. They were looking promising throughout the season. Ricciardo got the race win in Monza. Norris took pole in Russia, almost won the race. And then for the rest of the season, they just tailed off. And Ferrari finished P3. So that's something they need to focus upon a bit. Catch up to Ferrari and challenge for that P2. But the big thing out of this weekend would be the trolls and the jokes would just stop. He's broken his duck, and I hope this is the first of many. And the first of many probably this year itself, at least one or two more race wins. I hope that this win in Miami might have opened the floodgates for him and McLaren. So let's see what happens. Now, could this win for McLaren mean that there could be a three-way fight for wins in the rest of the season? At least at some races. I mean, we would like to think so, because Ferrari have been there from the start of this year. They have been the second best team, the closest challenger to Red Bull. Now with this Miami upgrade package, McLaren have sort of matched Ferrari, maybe replaced them as the second best team. But the catch is that Ferrari also have an upgrade package for Imola, which is the next race in 2 weeks' time. So McLaren would want to hone their package further to extract more out of it, to not lose ground to Ferrari. And of course Red Bull will also bring some upgrades at some point. It is not known which race they may bring any sort of package. but they will. So it will be quite interesting to see how many upgrade packages does McLaren bring, how much of a step forward can they take, and can they consistently hassle Ferrari and Red Bull for the podium places and for the win. After Australia, everybody thought that alright, Ferrari have got something, more upgrades, and they could be challenging Red Bull every weekend. Now McLaren have sort of put the cat amongst the pigeons, who knows. And again, people were saying 2024 was going to be even more dominant, but Red Bull have already lost 2 races. It's only been 6 races, and out of 6, Ferrari have won 1, McLaren have won 1. There is no way this season is as dominant as last year. The average gap Verstappen has won with has been around 10-12 seconds. It hasn't been more than 20-25 seconds. And I think that gap is going to further reduce and reduce because their dominance has to stop at some point. It has to slow down. That juggernaut has slowed down. It's not that Red Bull are winning it consistently, but the fear people had that Red Bull would be getting 1-2s at every race weekend this year, no chance that is happening. I may be again proven wrong and Verstappen goes on a juggernaut after Miami, but I think Ferrari and McLaren have got decent performance to not let Red Bull run away with this season. It may not be a title fight. Here we need to understand one crucial thing. There have been seasons where teams have fought for race wins consistently, yet they haven't challenged the one team like Mercedes or Red Bull for the championship. So Red Bull can still cruise to the championship, win both the constructors and drivers, but that does not mean that Ferrari and McLaren cannot challenge them week in, week out for wins. And it seems sort of paradoxical that how could they challenge for wins and not for the championship? But yeah, that's how F1 works. So three-way battle for the race win cannot be ruled out, especially on European circuits like in Imola. Monaco could be really fun. It's a racetrack where qualifying is key. If someone like Norris or Leclerc or Sainz puts it on pole, Monaco could yield another non-Red Bull race winner this year. So let's see if we can get the three-way fight for the win. But yeah, just in case Ferrari and McLaren close the gap to Red Bull, then Sergio Perez will have to pull up his game. His performance will come under scrutiny. He cannot be having a 12-15 second gap to Verstappen. Because Norris, Leclerc, Sainz, Piastri, these guys are not going to just languish behind him. They would be a lot closer if their performance, their car is closer to Red Bull. Now, a tale of two drivers, Lewis Hamilton and Kevin Magnussen. Kevin Magnussen was on a different level in terms of infringements in this race. In the Miami GP sprint race, he was cutting corners left, right, and center in a battle with Lewis Hamilton, and for that he got penalized. The fact of the matter is, he also got penalty points on his super license, and that makes him precariously close to a race ban. Currently, Magnussen has 10 penalty points. Any driver getting 12 penalty points on his super license gets him a ban for the next race. Kevin Magnussen needs to be very careful because the FIA stewards are handing out penalty points for fun. Alonso got 3 penalty points in China for basically racing Carlos Sainz. It was hard and tough racing, and he got 3 penalty points. And he got 3 more in Australia for Russell's penultimate lap incident for his allegedly dangerous driving. But you're coming to Magnussen, he's 2 penalty points away, 1 incident away from getting a race ban. At the moment, Magnussen's doing a fabulous job for Haas. You can say dangerous driving and everything, fair enough, but he's playing the team game. Even if his race is compromised, he's helping Hulkenberg to score these points. He did that amazingly in Jeddah. In Miami as well in the sprint, he did that. It helped Haas to score points, but he cannot look to have a race ban. So that needs to be sorted. Haas needs to tell him, fair enough, K-Mag, you've done awesome. Such kind of driving, even he would not want to do such kind of driving. He accepted it. He accepted the penalties. He said they were well deserved. Fair enough. But then he also needs to avoid those, or else he will miss a race. Plain and simple. So you can say it was possibly dangerous from K-Mag. But then I want to talk about Lewis Hamilton. How does he get away with these kind of incidents? Lap 1 of the sprint race, it's a very acute angle corner, the turn 1 in Miami, and there are 3 cars going side by side, the 2 Aston Martins and Lando Norris on the outside, and Hamilton sees a gap down the inside of Alonso, and he went for the gap. He went for the gap, hit Alonso, and people can say Alonso hit Stroll earlier, fair, but because Hamilton hit Alonso, it caused a domino effect, and it ended Stroll's race, it ended Norris's race, and Alonso's race obviously was compromised because after that crash, he was nowhere. So basically, Hamilton compromised 3 cars at the race start, and he did not get penalized for it. He got a 20-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane later, so you can say justice served, but it wasn't for the right offense. It's insane to think how does Hamilton get away with these kind of incidents. Not the first time he's gotten away. And yes, Kevin Magnussen is not the right comparison there. Magnussen's driving standards have been quite questionable. Yes, potentially dangerous, agreed. And Hamilton's incident was a lap 1 incident. The race control always has a different view of it. They disregard it as a racing incident often, so there are not many penalties given over there. But given this specific incident compromised 2 cars, 3 cars in total, I think this warranted a penalty, at least a 10-second penalty. So yeah, another one of those inconsistent steward calls. It has happened consistently. So it's insane to think that the FI's inconsistency has been a lot more consistent. But yeah, that's how it's been. Lewis Hamilton walks free and he appreciates K-Mac's honesty. So I think that makes up for Kevin Magnussen, that Hamilton appreciates his honesty. Well, of course, he will have to appreciate it regardless. There's no chance those penalties are getting overturned. His race is compromised. The only good saving for Haas is they've scored some points. He needs to worry about Mercedes not performing. But anyways, I think he also doesn't need to worry about that because he's leaving next year. So yeah, anyways, but that was about Lewis Hamilton, Kevin Magnussen, all that saga that unfolded in the sprint. But yeah, something to think about. Mercedes and Hamilton fighting a Haas for P8 in the sprint race. Good food for thought. Now, Daniel Ricciardo, a big point to discuss because he had a roller coaster for Miami GP. The good part first, in the sprint shootout, he got P4, second row start for the sprint race. It was a genuine chance for him to open his account, and he delivered on it. At the race start, he got P3. Eventually, he settled into P4 and he defended from Carlos Sainz till the checkered flag, till the end of the 19th lap to take P4. It was amazing. All his experience, all his defensive skills coming to the party. Fabulous stuff. He celebrated after the race, first points of the season. Big moment for him. He made statements that people were criticizing him. Now he's back, etc. etc. Great stuff. But then he probably forgot that the second part of the race weekend, the main Grand Prix, the Grand Prix qualifying, and the race on Sunday, the Ricciardo we saw in the sprint and the Ricciardo we saw in the Grand Prix was completely different. We can say that Ricardo in the sprint was perhaps from his Red Bull days, the Renault days maybe, and the Ricardo in the Grand Prix qualifying and the race on Sunday, he was like his McLaren days. Unfortunately, that is the reality. So no wonder why he felt it was a roller coaster. I hope there was some technical issue in qualifying for him. Now he said he lacked grip in that qualifying lap, but still P18 after he had finished P4 in the sprint, it's puzzling. It's puzzling, confusing, perplexing. Yes, that RB car is not the best on the grid, so he's not getting the best of packages to show his skills, but at the same time, they have Yuki Tsunoda who's making the most out of it. Perhaps Ricardo hasn't got that chance, it's just been 2 races, his chassis has been changed, he's performing better since then. The Chinese GP, if Lance Stroll did not dislike Ricardo's rear end, we could have seen something different, he could have scored points, who knows. But in Miami, he should have been in a much better place in the Grand Prix. Given the way he performed in the sprint race, this was his weekend to completely take control as the leader at RB, or VCARB if you may prefer. Like that was the story. 18th in qualifying, and he also had a 3 place grid penalty from China. So that meant that Ricardo was starting from the back of the grid. And when you're starting last, the chances of scoring points are negligible, especially in a car like RB that does not have that performance potential. And the reason I am talking about this, the problem with Ricardo has been his consistency. Ever since his McLaren stint in 2021, his consistency has been his biggest issue. The adaptability to the car, yes, but at the same time, he's not showing up consistent performances. There are 1 or 2 headline notable performances of the season. His win in Monza, the last 2 Mexican GPs, both in 22 and 23, he was fabulous. Perhaps he likes that track a lot, gets the best out of him, but barring those notable performances, he just disappears for the rest of the season. He's nowhere. That was the case against Norris at McLaren, and the reason Norris beat him comfortably was that he was consistently producing performances. The benchmark that he had set in 21, it was getting podiums and being in the top 5. In 22, it was being in the fight for P5, P7 consistently. Unfortunately, consistency has been missing from Ricciardo's performances over the past 3 years. No one can question his talent or class as a driver, but the reason people are criticizing him is because they feel he has a higher ceiling. He came in 2014 as the future world champion, beating the defending world champion Sebastian Vettel. Nobody expected that. So there was a reason people believed in him. They saw his potential. They thought, alright, this guy could be the one who could take the fight to Hamilton. Unfortunately, Red Bull were not able to give him a car capable of fighting Mercedes, but still he did his best, and consistently he was on the podium, he was there or thereabouts every time. He was at the same place where Leclerc and Norris are right now. His name used to come after the defending champion. So that's the thing, that's the aspect with Ricardo that frustrates people, that his ceiling is quite high and they still believe that Ricardo can go to Red Bull or perhaps any other top team if they take him and show his skills if he gets the right car. That's the reason Red Bull believed in him and got him back into RB. So the scrutiny, the criticism will stay unless he shows consistency against Tsunoda. If he can carry his Miami GP sprint form into the rest of the races, can he do the same thing at Imola, Monaco, Austria, Silverstone, Canada? That will make the difference. If he can consistently beat Tsunoda for the rest of the season, that would be the real reply to the critics. And every F1 fan would want to see Ricciardo do well. You want to see Ricardo do well, like he was smiling. You want to see the shoey on the podium. Nobody wants to see him finish P16, P17 and have his grin wiped off. The depressing 2 seasons at McLaren, people don't want to see that. People want to see his Renault days, his Red Bull days, when he was doing shoeies, winning races, being on the podium consistently. Fingers crossed, a driver of Ricardo's caliber, his talent and class and skills delivers for the rest of the season like he delivered in the sprint race in Miami. So, a surprisingly good race in Miami. The last 2 years, it did not deliver on the hype. There was more celebrity hype around it than the racing. So, finally, a good race. And of course, the result made it even sweeter. Lando Norris winning his maiden race. You couldn't have asked for more. On sheer merit, beating Max Verstappen. Finally, he must be feeling so light, getting that weight off his shoulders for having been the guy to have all this potential and talent and not win a race. Really, really happy for Lando Norris. It was his redemption. Quite unexpected and random, I would say still, but it happened. It finally happened. Now, from Ferrari's perspective, a standard race, nothing much for them. McLaren's upgrades really worked. So, their next package in Imola at the next race, that's going to be something to watch out for. If they can take a step forward again, McLaren would be sort of on the back foot. But hopefully, if McLaren, Red Bull, Ferrari, if we can have a three-way fight for the win, oh, that could be fun to watch. So let's see what happens in Imola. Close out on Miami. Thankfully, there was less celebrity hype. Nothing major happening there. It was all focused on the racing. Felt good to not have all those singers and pop stars and other sports, NFL athletes and everybody. It's cool to have them on the grid, but thankfully they did not take all the spotlight, the models and the singers especially. And the liveries, Ferrari massively under delivering. The overalls were so good. If they could have got the livery for the same color, the same blue color as their base color, that would have been a banger livery. But no, they kept it red with some spots of blue accent. Completely nerfed it. And VCARB, or RB as I like it, they produced a fabulous livery, multicolored, and it was so cool. A rainbow like livery. It was so cool to watch VCARB. I hope they retain this livery for the rest of the year because it looks much cooler than the blue. But yeah, that was Miami, multicolored as VCARB's livery, and the result too multicolored. Norris, Verstappen, Leclerc. It will still take time for me to absorb this because it was an amazing race. Quite standard and strategic, not much overtaking. There was some, nothing for the lead, and yet we got a new winner. And I really, really hope that Norris gets at least one or two more race wins in the rest of this year. Could it be at Imola? Or maybe Monaco? It's a double header next up. A week's break and then we head to Imola. So that could be fun. I'm hoping that it's a much closer fight next time around. So let's see, fingers crossed. Arigato and stay tuned until then.